exercise the Devils.
You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ the Tar Heel. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the 109th meeting all time on the gridiron between the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Dook Blue Devils. So I cannot freaking wait. And I'm particularly excited about this game because guess what? Your boy is going to be there. I live out of state, so me and my family, we make it a purpose that every year, at least once, we get up to Chapel Hill and take in a home game in beautiful Kenan Stadium. And what better game to take in this year than the last home game of the season, Battle for the Victory Bell, homecoming, all kinds of good stuff happening in Chapel Hill, baby. So when I looked at the schedule before the season, I saw Carolina and Duke visiting. I was like, yeah, that's the one, bro. So we will be there. We're going to be handing out a couple of free t-shirts, and we're going to have a good time. So stay tuned for more information on that. Now, the all-time record on the gridiron between these two schools is 64 wins for the Tar Heels. So 40 losses and 4 ties. And the Heels hold a 33-18-3 record in Chapel Hill. North Carolina is currently on a 4-game winning streak in this series. And head coach Mac Brown has not lost to Dook since he's returned to the sideline in 2019. Now, before we get into the details of this matchup, let's look at the top 25 rankings and the ACC standings, okay? So the North Carolina Tar Heels, after their victory, their 59-7 victory over the Fighting Camels from Bowie's Creek, they re-enter the AP Top 25 poll and check in at number 24. Now, they're also ranked number 23 in the coaches poll, and in the new college football playoff rankings, they are ranked number 24. Now, they're only behind 2 ACC teams. FSU checks in at number 4, and Louisville checks in at number 11 in both polls, respectively. So let's look at the ACC standings. Florida State is 7-0 in the conference, and they basically look to be a shoo-in to play in the annual Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game. Now, here's where things get interesting. Louisville is 5-1 with remaining ACC games against Virginia at home and then at Miami. So UNC fans should be huge Miami fans for the next 2 weeks. We need Louisville to drop one more conference game to even have a stinking shot. And then Georgia Tech is also sitting at 4-2 in the ACC, but they own the tiebreaker against the Heels due to their 46-42 win in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. Now, Georgia Tech's remaining ACC schedule, they play at Clemson this Saturday. So that's going to be the one. That's going to stink and be the one. And then they play Syracuse at home. Now, I don't think they're going to drop a game against the Orange at home. So we should be huge Clemson Tiger fans this week as well. Obviously, Carolina has to handle their own business. But if we're going to have any shot of playing again in Charlotte, we need a ton of help. And therefore, we need to be rooting against Louisville and Georgia Tech. So hopefully the Tigers can pull out that energy they had in their last game. Now, the Heels control their own destiny with Dook and the Wolfsack. So as long as we beat Dook this week and the Wolfsack in 2 weeks, we'll be okay. Now, obviously, that's a tough ask to do. Dook, Clemson, Wolfsack, but we can get it done. So we need a little bit of help to get back to the ACC Championship game. BC plays at home against Virginia Tech, at Pitt, and at home against Miami, so you'd have to think that they drop at least one of those. And then Virginia Tech plays at BC, the Wolfsack at home, and then at UVA. Now, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but let's get into the details of the 2023 UNC versus Dook Battle for the Victory Bell. The Dook Blue Devils are led by 6'4", 212-pound junior quarterback Riley Leonard, who has amassed 1,102 yards passing with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He also has rushed for 352 yards with 4 touchdowns. Now, here's the issue. He's probably not playing in this game due to what's being called a toe injury. That should have him out for what they're saying is an extended amount of time. Now, all jokes aside, you hope that the kid recovers quickly, as you never want to see players hurt. And me personally, I want to beat teams at their best anyway. So you do have to hope for a speedy recovery for Riley Leonard. He's a dual threat guy that causes a lot of issues for the UNC defense. He probably will not be playing this week. But due to Riley's likely being out of this ball game, we'll talk about his replacement. And that's going to be 6'3", 205-pound freshman Grayson Loftus, who went 7 for 19 for 86 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception in their 24-21 win against the Deacs from Wake Forest. That's right, an entire football game, 86 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, less than 50% passing. And people can say all they want about how he finished that game. He went 7 for 19, less than 100 yards. So put that in your back pocket. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. So you definitely want to think that that's part of UNC's game plan, right? It's Puke's apparent lack of ability to throw the football, but we'll see. Now, Puke is led by 6 foot, 219-pound senior running back Jordan Waters, who has rushed for 564 yards on 101 carries for an average of 5.6 yards per carry and 10 touchdowns. But don't forget about 5'10", 201-pound junior running back Jaquez Moore, who has 86 carries for 481 yards for an average of 5.6 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns himself. It's kind of like a thunder and lightning type package because Waters seems to be more powerful between the tackles and Moore is a little more explosive and he can break one if you give him a seam. He's from Live Oak, Florida, so he's got that Florida speed, as they say. Now, Puke is also led by 6 foot, 195-pound junior wide receiver Jordan Moore, who has 483 yards on 36 receptions for 4 touchdowns. That's 13.4 yards per catch. Now, I personally watched some of the Wake Forest versus Puke game, and Puke did not look very proficient throwing the ball downfield, period. Jordan Moore is a competent receiver, but the question is, will the freshman be able to get him the football? Now, for the North Carolina Tar Heels, of course, they are led by 6'4", 230-pound redshirt sophomore Drake May, who has amassed 2,803 yards passing with 20 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. He's got a QBR of 78.2, which is good for 15th in the entire nation. And Drake had a really good game against Campbell, throwing for about 250, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Still having a really good season. Now, the Heels' leading rusher is 6 foot, 220-pound sophomore running back Omarion Hampton, who I like to call the Hammer, who has 1,067 yards on 175 rushes for an average of 6.1 yards per carry and 12 tutties on the season. He's been an absolute hammer. He is the most improved player from last year on this team, and I think he should seriously be getting considered as the best running back in the Atlantic Coast Conference and one of the best running backs in the entire country. We know who he is, but I feel like so many people in the nation, don't know about Omarion Hampton. How? I don't stinking know, but they're going to find out one day. Now, the Heels' leading receiver is 6'2", 210-pound junior wide receiver J.J. Jones, who has 499 yards receiving on 31 receptions, 16.1 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. But obviously, Tez Walker has come on strong as he has 438 yards receiving on 28 receptions and 6 touchdowns. Interesting note here is that the Heels have 4 different receivers that are over 350 yards for the season. So Drake has done a really good job of spreading around that football. So how does this game play out? Well, that's easy. Or is it? You see, I know what North Carolina's defensive game plan should be in this game. Numbers in the box and make the freshmen throw the football around. Don't let Waters and Moore get hot on the ground. Corral them and you win the football game. UNC should be 9-0 anyway if we would have committed to doing the things that needed to be done. That's what I'm trying to say. We have the talent to be 9-0. What is one of the reasons we're not 9-0? It's a lack of putting the players in the right position. Yes, I understand that the defensive tackles are weak in the middle, but you scheme and game plan around said weaknesses, and we have not always done that. Teams are gashing us up the middle, and there have been times where we did not commit to stopping the run. You see, when Gene makes matter-of-fact statements like, and I'm paraphrasing here, nickel is what we do. It makes me nervous against a team that obviously needs to control the line of scrimmage and run the football to win. Puke needs to control the clock. But sadly, I can see Gene keeping 6, maybe 7 in the box against heavy packages with a smaller nickel back in and just seemingly refusing to make adjustments. I keep hearing about the defensive tackles, they're being soft. I keep hearing that the defensive tackles are being soft, and I agree. So you scheme around your weaknesses and you provide help there, and help means numbers. That's what you have to do. And people are constantly talking about the players not showing up. I'm more concerned with the coaching staff not making the necessary adjustments. So I know what this is supposed to look like on paper. It's just like the Virginia game and the Georgia Tech game. We should stomp them. The real question is, to me, is the coaching staff going to put these kids in a position to win? That's my opinion. You can have a different opinion. It's okay. Put it down in the comment section. That's why we have this thing. So please, forgive my lack of confidence here. Puke is 76th in the entire country in scoring offense. Carolina is 81st in total defense and 48th in scoring defense. We have not taken enough advantage of the lack of competent quarterbacks that have been on Carolina's schedule this year. It truly has been, for me, the biggest story about this team. Like I said, we should be 9-0. The fact that we're not 9-0 is an absolute shame considering what we have had to play against. No one that we've played so far is as good on paper as us. None. 0. But unfortunately, the players have not always been put in a spot to win. Now, Puke does have a very good defense. They're 27th in total defense and 7th in scoring, so North Carolina is going to face a stiff competition. The issue for Puke is that they will be facing the nation's 8th best passing offense and 16th best rushing offense. Outside of the Virginia game, Chip has done a really good job of playing complementary football. Heels should score 30-plus despite Duke being good on that side of the football. So let's look at Russ's 3 keys to the game with that in mind. Key number 1, please commit numbers to stop the run. You got a third-string quarterback who went 7 for 19, less than 100 yards, threw an interception, and Duke has 2 really good running backs. So please, commit to stopping the run. Please, Gene. If you're listening to the sound of my voice, I'm going to be there. Please don't let me down. Just please load it up. Do not allow that team to run the football. It's so obvious that it's painful. It's a no-brainer. And it's a shame that I'm scared that something so simple and obvious could be potentially so easily overlooked by this coaching staff. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. Key number 2, jump on them early. Puke does not have the horses if they get down by a large number. They can't sling the ball around, especially not without Riley Leonard. So if the freshman has to start slinging it, I like our chances to make it 5 straight wins against Duke. Or Puke, I'm sorry. I mispronounced their name. I apologize. Make the kid throw the football around. He's the 3rd string quarterback at Puke. Don't let their running backs stinking win this football game. And key number 3, talking about Duke having a good defense. Protect Drake May. Puke is going to be aggressive up front. So have some quick passes available to get it out of Drake's hands quickly. If we bust one and we gash them due to their aggressiveness, it could make them more apprehensive to bring pressure, and it could bode well for the rest of the football game. So have a couple of bubble screens, little running back screens, that if they want to keep sending heat, we can gash them, right? Got to have that in your arsenal. And that brings us to Russ's score prediction. Now, on paper, this one it shouldn't be this way, guys. But sad to say, this is a tricky one. You say, is it because it's a rivalry? No. Puke is down to their 3rd string quarterback, who only completed 7 passes in his last game for less than 100 yards. Puke has 2 really good running backs, and the front 7 of North Carolina have been susceptible to being gashed. I know what should be done. And every pick that I've done this year was because I knew what should have been done, and I just thought, heck, we're going to do it. So you pick thinking, looking at the paper. All right, now this goes beyond, they're 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. No, I'm talking about the 70-year-old coaches, and I'm talking about the 50 and 60-year-old coaches. I'm more concerned with that than these kids bringing the heat. I'm much more concerned with what's going on up in the coaching box. I'm just going to be honest with you. The question is, do we do the obvious thing and stack the box? That is the question. And unfortunately, I still have no faith that we can make the necessary adjustments, and that's what my score prediction will reflect. Now, the line is currently 12.5 in favor of North Carolina. UNC doesn't come close to covering because Puke is able to run the football, because UNC doesn't make the obvious adjustments needed. The simple fact of the matter is UNC should win this football game by at least 20 points on paper. 3rd string quarterback, limited offense aside from the run game. We should just be a no-brainer, stack the box, make the freshmen sling the ball around to okay wide receivers, and then you just outscore them with your really good offense. But somehow, until you prove me wrong now, I just can't stinking see it. So, Heels are favored by 12.5. They'll win by less than a touchdown because they'll get out-coached. Think about what I just said. And it pains me to say it because I love these guys and I love this team, but I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I feel like it's going to be a much closer game than it should be because Mike Elko, he's getting a ton out of his players. And Mac Brown has all the players in the world, but either him or his coordinators, they're just not scheming, especially on the defensive side, the correct way. So I have it 37-31, North Carolina in a game that has us happy for the victory, but still saying, how in the world? I sure hope that I'm wrong, guys. I really do, man. But this coaching staff is going to have to prove me wrong. I'm just going to keep it a buck. So, still reeling from the embarrassing losses of UVA and Georgia Tech. Those are games. They can make all the excuses they want. 4-9 combined record when we played them. So, and those games, it was so just unreprehensibly, I don't even know if that's the right stinking word, but it was just so obvious what should be done. And the failure to make those adjustments it just really left a bad taste in my mouth. So, that's what I got, man. 37-31 Heels. A team that is much better than Puke. Unfortunately, the coaching staff on the sideline, they're going to make adjustments. And they're going to take that limited amount of actual physical talent and tools that they have, and they'll get a ton out of it. And they're going to make this a stinking ball game. A game that it shouldn't really be a ball game if North Carolina did what they were supposed to do. So anyway, baby, let's end this thing on a positive note. Do me a favor. Hit that like button. Share, subscribe. Make sure you comment down in the comment section what you think about this football game. And consider becoming a member of the Tar Heel Huddle, or AKA the Huddle Hooligans. It's only $4.99 a month, man. And you just show your support for the channel. You get some cool little emojis in the live chat. We got a whole bunch of stuff that's coming up, man. We're working it up slowly but surely. Those perks are in the membership section. And I definitely want to give a shout out to the Huddle Hooligans, Coconuts and Grits, Lack Rage'em, Preston from Greensboro, Scott Chef, and my man, Carlton Van Hoy. Now you guys got a real cool little North Carolina Tar Heel emoji by your name. You can thank my lovely wife. Don't forget, most of the Tar Heel Huddle knows that I will be at the UNC and Duke game. And I'm really wanting you guys to come over and say hey so I can put a face to the name. We're going to be handing out. I got 5 of them. 5 t-shirts. 5 of them. Larges and XLs. If I don't have your size, we will eventually get it up when we start the store. But it just says, Huddle Up Tar Heel Nation with the greatest state in the United States on the front. And then it has the Tar Heel Huddle stuff on the back. So I'm excited about that. First 5 that come up and see me, and you are a member of the channel. A member of the channel. Unfortunately, we just got notification that the wristbands, they're probably not going to be here in time. But this is what I promise you. If you come up and say hi to me, you're subscribed to the channel, I will get those stinking wristbands out to you. I will find a stinking way, guys. So make sure you come and say hi to your boy. Don't forget about Russ's rant and the Tar Heel Mobile. It's probably going to be Thursday because I've just been backed up with work and all the things that I got to do preparing for this trip for North Carolina. And I'll probably go live a couple of times during the UNC Duke football game. And then we're also going to be at the UNC Lehigh basketball game on the 12th. So make sure you stay tuned to that. Unfortunately, no live stream like we usually do on Saturdays and for the basketball game this week. But that will continue afterwards. So I am personally looking forward to it, Tar Heel Nation. We will see you in Chapel Hill. Let's go, Tar Heels. Catch you on the next one, baby.
I'm a Tar Heel!